War period. So it's in between the first invasion, which was kind of ordered by Darius, and the second war, which is ordered by Xerxes. So we've got about a decade in between each battle, and there's a bit of a difference here in how each side gets themselves ready. Here are some terms. All right. So Persia, not happy. Still the Athenians. They did not get to kind of. They're even angrier at Athens now. They didn't get to kind of take out their vengeance, and unfortunately, King Darius dies. But before Persia can necessarily just go back into Greece, they've got to deal with a few revolts, I should say. And there's a little bit of an issue over a couple of issues over who gets the crown, but we can talk about that later. Essentially, the son, Xerxes, inherits the crown, and he's the one that essentially takes it on himself to, according to Herodotus, that is, to keep going to try and get the vengeance on Athens that his father couldn't get. So he decides, and apparently he calls in a meeting with all his senior people and his most trusted people, and they're all talking about whether should they go to Greece, shouldn't they go to Greece, and supposedly it's Xerxes who comes up with the new strategy. In order to defeat Greece, you need a combined assault on land and sea. So you need to attack with people on the ground, you need to attack with people on the water. This will allow protection, communication, and a continuous flow of supplies. Now, supposedly some people didn't want to go back to Greece, but essentially his way or the highway. So he essentially listens to them and says, "I can't believe you don't have faith," and there we go. So they start getting ready, but they need a lot of preparation for his combined land and sea assault to work. So in order to get ready, they've got a few things happening here. Okay, so firstly, Persia calls on the states that are loyal to them under their empire for things like troops and ships and horses and other beasts of burden and supplies and workers, and he calls on everyone under his control. Okay, they're also building a canal around Mount Athos. Okay, because 10 years previously, this canal was built here. They tried to go around this thing here, and apparently they ran into some harsh sea conditions around here. So his plan is, let's build through the land, and then we will not only cut out time, but we can keep our ships close to our land because he wants to march land and sea next to each other, and we can keep our ships safe. He wants to build storehouses on the route from Persia to Greece, or from the Persian Empire to Greece. The idea being, if we can have places that we have food and supplies and water and all of this kind of stuff, if we're caught, we can just continually keep supplying our army with supplies, and we'll outlast these damn Greeks. He's got a couple of bridges. One of them is bridging the Hellespont, which we're going to talk about soon. So we're going to talk about the bridge that he builds up here. He sends some envoys to Greece, which essentially says, Persia's coming, you can submit and be loyal to Persia, or we're going to take you down. Some of these cities do submit, but he doesn't actually ask Athens and Sparta if they want to submit or not. Look, Herodotus claims that Persia comes with a force of 1.7 million soldiers. Now, this is highly unlikely. It's probably closer to around 300,000, we suspect. But have a think about, what does Herodotus have to gain by greatly exaggerating the Persian numbers here? Why do that? Have a think about that. All right. Here are some pictures of the Hellespont. So I've showed you before this area here. These are the 2 points that Xerxes orders his temporary bridge to be built. And he does it in this really interesting way. He lines up all of his ships. This is an artist's reinterpretation. And then they essentially build platforms on this floating bridge. Okay, they have a couple of goes at it. The first one gets destroyed by the sea in a storm, and then they do so again. So this is pretty cool. Okay, we can come back to this, But Herodotus was not happy with this. Herodotus kind of looked at this as an action against the gods. The gods had separated that bit of land. It was not meant to be crossed in this way. And when the ships are all destroyed by a storm, he saw that as, you tried to go against the gods and you were punished for it. But we'll talk about that in class. Greece. Early on, they are very scared of Persia, but then they very quickly forget. They essentially just stop worrying about Persia. They go back to their own little, rivalries between each other. Athens and Aegina or Agina, they two Greek cities, they have a bit of a rivalry and issue. Both of these, Athens and Aegina or Agina, they both have really strong navies. Athens actually has the second strongest navy to them. Okay, so they are quite. They have a rivalry with each other. There are a few political developments in Athens at the time. These are things that we are going to come back to at a later date. But yeah, so they strengthen their navy. So thanks to this guy, and get used to this name because he is an absolute. He's a bit of an ass, but he's a superstar. His name is Themistocles. This guy is a clever but cunning man. So he essentially argues, Athens needs to strengthen our navy. Athens needs to strengthen our navy. We need to protect ourselves from Agina. And as a result of that navy, that ends up becoming hugely important against Persia. So thanks to Themistocles, the navy gets strengthened. Also, Themistocles kind of helps some of his rivals get ostracized, so exiled. So think about if Trump could actually have thought of a way to get Joe Biden expelled from the country. Is essentially what Themistocles did. But when he knew Persia was coming back, he got them to come back because he knew he needed all hands on deck. They saw prophecy from the Oracle at Delphi. We'll talk about that. And more importantly, they got the Hellenic League organized. The Hellenic League, they essentially sent invitations to many cities across Greece for states that need to come together in order to defeat Persia. Out of hundreds that were sent out, only 31 states turned up. So heaps of them kind of went, well, if Persia comes, we're going to submit. We're not getting involved in this. We can't beat Persia. So 31 states turn up. Obviously, our main ones being Athens and Sparta. But Agina is there as well. So we've got the two largest navies combined. Now, there's a question here on leadership. Who should lead the army? Who should lead the navy? Now, Themistocles is very happy to designate the control of the land army to Sparta because they're the best soldiers. He probably wanted Athens to get control of the navy, but no one else wanted Athens to have that much power. So in order to get them on board, Themistocles and Athens kind of say, all right, fine, Sparta can have control of the navy as well. And essentially, yeah, so Sparta has pretty good control of the Hellenic League. So some names you need to remember. Leonidas becomes in control of the land army. Eurybiades, or Eurybiades, doesn't matter, from Sparta, who's in control of the navy.